If you're a woman over 60 and your knees grind, click, or wake you up at night, there is one mistake you are making before breakfast every single morning that is wearing your cartilage thinner than the doctor will ever tell you. It is not your weight. It is not your age. It is not the running you did 40 years ago. It is the way you stand up out of bed. In the next 15 minutes, I am going to show you the 5 small habits that are quietly destroying your knees after 60. The hidden reason most women cannot heal them no matter how many supplements they swallow. And the one thing the women in my family have done for 4 generations that has kept every single one of us out of a knee replacement. Stay with me because the third habit is the one 9 out of 10 women are doing right now without knowing it. And the master mistake at the end is the habit underneath all the others. My name is Camilla Hayes. For 35 years, women have walked through my screen door in the foothills of South Carolina bent and stiff, and walked back out 3 months later standing tall. The plant medicine I share was passed to me by my grandmother and to her by her mother, 4 generations of root work going back into the Gullah hills. My great-grandmother walked 4 miles to church on Sunday mornings until she was 91. My Aunt Ola was kneeling in her vegetable garden at 88. Not one woman in our line has ever had her knee replaced, not one. The doctors who came down to study us in the 1980s found a 43% lower rate of degenerative joint disease in our holler than in the surrounding county. They called it remarkable. My grandmother just nodded. She had been watching it for 50 years from her front porch. But before I share the 5 habits, you need to understand something the doctors will not sit with you long enough to explain. And this is the piece that changes everything. After the age of 60, something happens inside your gut that no one warns you about. By the time a woman reaches her 65th birthday, she has lost roughly 50% of the friendly bacteria that lived in her belly when she was young. 50% gone. And here is what my grandmother knew that the laboratories are only now confirming. The body is one body. The fire that burns in the gut burns in the joints. When the bacteria in the belly die off, inflammation rises everywhere. The knees swell, the cartilage thins, the cushion between the bones turns from a sponge into sandpaper. You can do every exercise on this video correctly and still not heal because the fire underneath is still burning. This is why so many women I sit with tell me the same story. They walk every morning, they take their fish oil, they watch what they eat, and still the knees throb at night. Still the stairs feel like punishment. Still, they cannot sit on the floor with the grandbabies. The movement is helping, but there is a quiet fire in the belly that the movement alone cannot put out. Hold that in your mind. We will come back to it because what I am about to share will get you most of the way home. But the last piece, the piece your body cannot make on its own after 60, is something I had to search for myself. I will tell you that story when we get there. Now let us count down from 5. Number 5. The way you stand up out of a chair. Most women over 60 push down on the armrests with their hands and lever themselves up with their thigh muscles, throwing their full body weight straight down through bent knees. The knee is a hinge. It is not a piston. When you load it like that, you are grinding the cartilage between your femur and your tibia, like 2 stones rubbing together. After 50, that cartilage thins by about 1% every year, and standing up wrong speeds it up. Researchers at the University of Pittsburgh studied a group of older adults who learned to lead with their hips instead of their knees when they stood. Within 6 weeks, they showed measurably less joint stress. My grandmother had been teaching this in her own kitchen since the 1950s. She used to put her hand on a young woman's lower back and say, "Push from here, child, not from your legs." Eleanor from Cedar Rapids came to me last spring, 73, retired school teacher. She told me she could barely stand up from her dining room chair without holding the table. I taught her one change. Slide to the edge of the seat. Plant your feet a little wider than your hips. Lean your chest forward until your nose is over your toes. Then press through your heels and let your hips lift you. 3 weeks in, the chair pain was already softer. But here is what she told me on the phone. She said, "Miss Camilla, the standing got better, but my knees still feel hot." They still wake me up at night. I knew exactly what she was feeling. We will come back to Eleanor, but this was just the beginning because the way you stand up is nothing compared to the way you walk. Number 4, the widow's gait. This is the walking pattern I see in 9 out of 10 of my clients. Short, shuffling steps, feet barely lifting, hips that do not swing, arms that do not move. The medical name is gait shortening with reduced hip extension, and what it does to your knees is brutal. When the hips will not swing, the knees absorb the entire shock of every step. Imagine a car with no shocks. Every bump in the road slams straight into the frame. That is what your knees are doing every single time you walk to the kitchen, every single time you cross the living room, every single time you go check the mail. Researchers studying adults over 65 found that women with shortened strides had nearly twice the rate of knee arthritis. Lengthening your stride by just 2 inches can cut the impact on your knees by 30%. 2 inches. That is the difference between a knee that lasts you to 91 and a knee that gives out at 70. My grandmother used to make us walk the dirt road to the mailbox singing a song with a strong beat. She said a body that walks to a song walks the way it was made to walk. Push off through your back toe. Let your back leg straighten fully behind you before it swings forward. Swing your arms gently. Take longer steps, not faster ones. Walk like you have somewhere to be, even if you are just going to the kitchen for a glass of water. But even if you walk perfectly, there is something on your feet right now that may be undoing all of it. Number 3, your shoes. I am going to say something that will surprise you. The thick, cushiony walking shoes the salesman swore would protect your joints, they are often the very thing destroying your knees. A thick, soft sole acts like a pillow between your foot and the ground. Your foot can no longer feel where it is in space. The small, stabilizing muscles in your feet and ankles, the ones that have been working since you were a baby, go to sleep. And when those muscles sleep, the larger muscles up your leg have to compensate. The knee, sitting in the middle, takes the brunt of every off-balance step. After 60, your foot's sense of where it is in space declines by about 35% on its own. Thick soles speed that decline. A study at the University of Calgary followed older adults for a year and found that those walking in flat, flexible shoes had measurably better knee alignment and less joint pain than those in cushioned trainers. The laboratories are catching up to what my grandmother saw plain. She walked barefoot in the garden every morning of her life until she passed at 93. You do not need to throw out your shoes and walk barefoot through the parking lot. Please do not do that, but you can take them off in the house. You can stand on a folded towel and try to grip it with your toes for 30 seconds twice a day. You can walk on the grass in your backyard for a few minutes in the morning. Wake the muscles up, and if you have diabetes or any nerve issue in your feet, please speak with your doctor first. Sensation matters, and you need to know what your feet can feel. If anything I have shared so far has helped you, hit subscribe so the next one finds you. The more grandmothers and sisters we reach with the old ways, the more knees we save. But here is where it gets serious. The next 2 habits are the heaviest, and the master mistake at the end is the one nobody talks about. Number 2, the way you climb stairs. When your knee bends past 90 degrees while bearing your full weight, the pressure on your kneecap can reach 7 times your body weight, 7 times. For a woman who weighs 160 pounds, that is over 1,000 pounds of grinding pressure on a worn joint with every single stair she climbs. By age 70, the cartilage behind the kneecap is often the most worn cartilage in the entire body, and this is exactly why. Lead with your stronger leg going up. Lead with your weaker leg going down. Push through your heel, not your toes. Engage your backside, your gluteal muscles, not your thigh. Take it slow on the way down and let your hip do the lowering, not your knee. Beatrice from Savannah came to me at 68, a retired nurse who could no longer climb the stairs to her own bedroom without crying. She had been climbing stairs the wrong way her whole life, and her knees had finally said enough. She made these changes, and 4 weeks in, the stair pain had eased. But she wrote me a letter that I want to read to you. She said, "Miss Camilla, the technique helped, but my knees still throbbed at night. Something deeper was still hurting. We will come back to Beatrice too. Now we come to it, the master mistake, the habit underneath all the others. Number one, sitting still. I know that is not what you expected to hear. But hear me out, because this is the one that quietly drives every other knee problem you have. When you sit for more than 30 minutes, the synovial fluid inside your knee, the slippery liquid that keeps the bones gliding, stops circulating. It becomes a stagnant pond. The cartilage in your knees has no blood supply of its own. It feeds on movement. Every time you bend and straighten, fresh fluid washes through and brings nutrients in and waste out. When you sit still for hours, that exchange stops. The cartilage starves, the waste builds up, inflammation rises, and when you finally stand, the joint is dry, the cartilage is stiff, and the first 10 steps grind like sandpaper. After 60, your synovial fluid production drops by about 40%. Your cartilage's ability to absorb nutrients drops by about 30%. So the very thing that protects your knees, regular movement, becomes more important the older you get, not less. Researchers at Johns Hopkins followed 2,000 adults over 12 years and found that those who stood up and moved every 30 minutes had 41% less knee pain progression than those who sat for hours. 41%. The old ones did not need a study to tell them this. My grandmother used to say, "A body at rest for too long forgets it is a body." Set a timer for every 30 minutes. When it goes off, stand up. Walk to the kitchen sink and back. Do 10 slow knee bends. Sit back down. If you are watching television in the evening, get up during every commercial break. If you are reading, set the book down at the end of every chapter and walk 1 minute. The goal is not exercise. The goal is to never let your knee joint sit still long enough to dry out. Pair this with a glass of water every time you stand. Synovial fluid is mostly water, and most women over 60 walk around chronically dehydrated without knowing it. Movement plus water is the master combination. Now, I told you we would come back to Eleanor and Beatrice. Both of them did everything I just shared. They stood up correctly, they walked with full strides, they moved every 30 minutes, they drank their water, and they got about 70% of the way home. The pain eased, the stiffness lifted. They could go down the back porch steps without holding the railing. But there was a stubborn final piece that would not budge, a throb at night, a heat in the joint, a swelling that returned after long days on their feet. This is the part I had to search for myself, because I watched it in client after client. The movement worked, the walking worked, the stretches worked. But the inflammation underneath, the fire in the belly that I told you about earlier, kept burning quietly. And until that fire goes out, the knees cannot finish healing. I spent 3 years looking. I read the studies on probiotics. I tried fermented foods with my clients. I tried the powders. I tried the capsules from the health food store. None of it gave my clients what my grandmother's gut had naturally when she was young. Because here is what nobody tells you, and this is what took me 3 years to understand. A probiotic alone is just a seed. You can pour all the seeds you want into dry, dead soil, and nothing grows. Your gut needs three things working together: the seed, which is the probiotic, the soil, which is the prebiotic that feeds the bacteria, and the fruit, which is the postbiotic, the actual healing compound the bacteria produce when they are fed right. After 60, your body cannot make any of these in the amounts it used to. You have to put them back in, all three, together, or it does not work. That is when I finally found something I could put my name behind. It is called BoochBod. It is a kombucha gummy in a berry bliss flavor, and it is the only formula I have found that gives you all three at once. The clinical strain lactospore puts the friendly bacteria in. Postbiotics, LM1004, brings the actual healing compounds your body has stopped making on its own. And there is slippery elm in there, the same root my grandmother kept in a tin on her kitchen counter for 60 years for any belly that needed soothing. Over 30,000 folks are using it now, and it is a gummy, not one of those big pills that gets stuck in your throat and sits in your stomach for an hour. You chew it like a piece of fruit and it goes down clean. I had Eleanor add it to what she was already doing. I had Beatrice add it. Within 6 weeks, the stubborn last piece both of them carried for years finally lifted. Eleanor told me she slept through a full night without her knee waking her up for the first time since the Reagan administration. Her exact words. Beatrice told me she walked down the stairs to kiss her husband goodnight without holding the railing, and she stood on the bottom step and cried. The link is in the description below. They offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, so if it does not change something for you, you send it back and you keep your money. There is no risk to you whatsoever. As always, speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, especially if you are on blood thinners or managing a chronic condition. The link is right there waiting for you whenever you are ready. Now let me lock the rest in for you. Stand up from chairs by leading with your hips, not your knees. Walk with full strides and let your back toe push you forward. Choose thinner soles when you can and wake up your foot muscles. Climb stairs, leading with your stronger leg up, weaker leg down, pushing through your heel, and never, ever let your knees sit still for more than 30 minutes at a stretch. This is not really about your knees, my dear ones. The knees are the messenger. What you are protecting is the morning you walk down to your back garden and the wet grass touches your ankles. What you are protecting is your daughter calling and asking if you will come visit for the weekend, and you saying yes without first counting the steps from her car to her front door. What you are protecting is the grandbaby asking you to get down on the floor and play, and you saying yes without doing the math in your head. It is never too late, my dear ones. Cartilage repairs slowly, but it does repair. Muscles wake up at any age when they are asked to. I have watched women in their 80s walk into my kitchen bent and walk out 3 months later with their shoulders back and their hips swinging. You are the driver of this body, and you always have been. The link to BoochBod is in the description with the 60-day guarantee. Click it now while you are thinking of it before the day gets away from you. Walk gently, my dear ones. I will see you next time.